Good evening, everyone. We will call the Hudsonville Public Schools Board of Education work session for August 28, 2023 to order. Nick Bullhouse has an excused absence. He is out of country for work. So first up, we have approval of our agenda.
I'll move that.
Support. Moved by Mark, support from Dawn. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's passed. Recognition of visitors and hearing of people present.
So we have one person that'd like to speak to the board tonight. First up is Mindy Vandy.
Do you want me to go to the podium?
Please. Just the board, because we're back in here, if you could move your mics a little bit closer if you choose to speak when you speak, just so that it's picked up. Thank you.
Do you want me, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I guess not, there's a ton of people here. All right, I have prepared a statement this time because in previous meetings I have spoken off the cuff and led with my emotions. I need to apologize to the board for speaking truth without love. Dawn and all of the other people, I feel like maybe last time or past few times I've spoken, you've taken offense. I did not mean offense. Jesus Christ is our example, and he told us we need equal parts truth and love in everything we do and say. In the past, I have given 80% truth, 10% love, and 10% sarcasm. I apologize for my behavior and will make more of an effort to lead with love. This is one of the many reasons why ruler curriculum is so dangerous. Teaching children to identify and pinpoint emotions when they cannot understand or rationalize them is bad. Elementary-aged kiddos do not physically have the brain capacity to handle that. They are so malleable at that age that they are willing to believe anything. Examples being Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. They are depending upon our well-developed brains to weed out what is introduced to them at each stage of life until they are able to do it on their own. Ruler puts the focus on emotions, yet we are reminded many times as adults not to make impulsive decisions, to consider the consequences of our decisions, and to think logically. The opt-out process for ruler curriculum is discriminatory and ridiculous. Parents should not be singled out for their beliefs. Parents who want to be the lead teacher for their children and do not agree with the ruler lessons should not be singled out with specific forms and a meeting with the school principal. Those parents have done nothing wrong. They are looking out for their children and oppose what is being taught. They have that right. Sending a child to the public school system does not mean that they are handing over their God-given rights to guide and teach their children. It means they are using a public source to aid them in teaching their children. All too often, the public school system assumes that it has been put in charge of raising the children within its walls, but that is incorrect. Public schools are designed to assist parents, not sideline them. I find it incredibly rude to expect parents to need a form or a meeting of any sort so that their child can be excused from being exposed to something that they disagree with. Parents are responsible for their children, not the public school teachers or curriculum. My last point I'm just going to skip to. My last point is concerning the process of registering to speak at meetings. It is a discriminatory practice to inhibit attendees at all board meetings from being able to participate in the public comment simply because they didn't pre-register. My tax dollars fund this school, and the board has said that they value each individual's input, so they should return to the previous structure and allow anyone in attendance the chance to speak. I understand that public comment can last for a long time or become contentious, but I also believe that it is important to give each person a chance to voice their concerns or opinions. People may be moved to speak about a certain subject or issue that arises during a meeting and should be given the opportunity to speak at public comment without the need to pre-register. Take, for example, the Ottawa County Commissioners meetings and the Jamestown public meetings. No sign up, everyone gets a chance to speak. That's how it should be. You as a board claim to put a high value on what we think. This should be reflected in your actions. Please return to an open public comment floor. And that's my 3 minutes.
All right, we're going to move on to discussion items. First up is our community education highlights.
Thank you. I'd like to actually turn over to Rebecca Fabiano. She's going to talk through where they are with community education. Are you going to run this?
I am, yeah. So I'm trying to actually connect to the internet, and I'm not connecting to the internet at the moment. I can do it from here, yes, but I can't even. Turn off, turn back on.
That's what I do.
No, you IT degree too?
No. Jack's sponsor was a shirt every year for a new teacher organization that says, turn off and turn back on. Like that is his yearly shirt. It's awesome.
So today I got assigned a new room. It's the room that the PA program uses for distance learning in Traverse City. The technology is all different.
Why would you put me in that room? I had to go down to IT room to help me.
They made to sneak up on you.
Everyone else is looking, you were.
You started.
Yeah, but so we
I know that's.
Earlier today, like, we had everything.
Anderson, I.
Earlier this afternoon, of course.
Just go back up and establish somewhere else. I'm on.
So it's okay with you, President Hooper, we can jump to the second item?
Yep, so you want to move on to Arbor
That's
Circle?
okay, we don't
That's
need to.
completely fine. We'll move on to completely fine. Arbor Circle.
All right, we'll get back to the item in a minute. So I do want to address the board regarding Arbor Circle and some of the work we've talked at length as not only board but administrative team about how to support our kids. Truly from the supports that they need, maybe not instructionally or academically, but more socially, emotionally, mentally. Some of our kids are struggling. At the high school for the past several years before I got here, they had support at the high school that students could see basically not just a counselor, but a clinical support person. Arbor Circle's been coming to our high school for years, where kids have an opportunity to see somebody. If they don't have an opportunity to leave the building, they can still do it during the school day. It's all run through our counseling department. We have a unique opportunity now to potentially add to that position, a completely 100% funded position, grant funded. And I want Andy to talk a little bit about what it looks like so that the board can understanding. We don't know if this is going to come to fruition or not, but we feel like we should try to dip our toes in the water and say we'd like to have additional support if it's not going to cost us additional money. I think our kids need it. By doing so, this discussion tonight would then lead to the board to take action and say, yes, we're okay with this at our next meeting. But this gives us a chance to go through and try to explore more. Can we get the grant dollars to do it? It goes through the county, not through us. So I'll turn over to Mandy to talk a little bit more about what it looks like.
Yeah, so as Dr. Vanderjack shared, we've had a longstanding agreement with Arbor Circle where it's a graded funded position where the clinician is hired and a part of Arbor Circle's agency, but has time to spend in our high school and uses our counseling department as a referral place to identify students that have barriers to accessing mental health services otherwise. And so that has been a successful endeavor in that it's been needed, and in fact, in many cases, we need to actually pause and have students wait on a wait list until there becomes spaces available. So we're always looking for how we increase our capacity, and we shared that with the Arbor Circle director. And so when she then had a site available for something called the E3 program, she contacted us to say, would you be interested? And so let me tell you what E3 stands for. It is Expanding Enhancing Emotional Health. And it's actually a national program that is designed to give more capacity to clinicians and clinical agencies so that they have then the funding and the finances to be able to push out and be a more collaborative partner with the local school districts. So the sub-recipient for the grant is actually Arbor Circle, not Hudsonville Public Schools. So they reached out and said, we have this grant opportunity. We have the ability to work with 6 local districts. We'd love for you to be one of them. Is this something you're interested in? So we learned more, and because of the national effort around this program, it really has an emphasis on being able to support suicide prevention. And so knowing the statistics that we've shared and we've reviewed with our Cornwall Health Partnership with Blue Envelope Project, we know that our statistics of students expressing suicidal ideation has increased both in range and in frequency, and we believe that we also would be of benefit, something unique to the partnership, right? And having availability to have an additional clinician. So this wouldn't take away from the position we currently have. It would just afford the high school a full year clinician for those students who were referred, which then we could take the original position and start to be able to do something similar to lower grades. Again, like Dr. Vanderdyk shared, we want to be in close partnership with what those referral streamlines look like, what the referral process is, and in terms of communication, because we know that students are frequently going to school staff first, and then we have those conversations about how can we support you and what supports does your family currently have. So we would just hope to continue that same opportunity for kids in the lower grades, because we are seeing, particularly at the middle school level, that increase of students reporting suicidal ideation and looking for resources to have some help. So if we proceed in this way and all gets approved on their end, then it would require an interagency agreement or a memorandum of understanding, which we would then bring to the board for approval so that we could pursue this partnership. Do you have any questions for me?
Mandy, I have a few.
Yeah.
So Arbor Circle is applying for the grant.
They have the grant, yes.
They've already received it.
Yes.
Do we know how many years the grant is?
I think it's a year at a time. Right now they have approval for 6 clinicians.
Okay.
And so if we continue to express interest in being one of the recipients, they then just go back to the state level and say, we'd like to issue one of these sites to Hudsonville.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so you've identified we have a wait list. Are we able to do anything with the kids that are currently waiting for mental health? Or how are they prioritized? If we know that a
Yes.
student is having suicidal ideations, are we giving them
Yes.
help right away?
Yes, and so through our current Blue Envelope project, or our kind of our steps for identifying levels of risk, certainly our students with the most risk, we want to make sure we connect them quickly and at minimum have a safety plan so that both home and school can be supportive of that student. And so currently we have a practitioner that through both Hudsonville grant and Arbor Circle grant, someone is available 2.5 days a week. So to answer your question, we prioritize students based on level of risk and additionally looking at the family's access to community mental health services so that we can make sure that those students that experience the most barriers are able to get connected quicker.
Them coming around their child, both from school and at home, with
Yes.
parent, guardian?
Yes, yep.
So how will that, so how will that work, thinking about the privacy issues and kind of the control issues, Barb touched on that a little bit. I'm trying to get my arms around having Arbor Circle partner with us,
Yes.
but for lack of a better term, can they override the school as to how, when, parent involvement, some of that kind of thing?
Sure, there are laws that any entity has to abide by related to minor consent and the Stabenow statute, but what we've encountered is that students only become aware of the clinician by way of the counselor, school counselor. So they have a place to work out of within the counseling suite, so it's not as though they're sort of like a drop-in for students. The students are initially connecting with the school counselor, and the school counselors as a team are reviewing who do we need to make sure gets connected first.
So Mandy,
Yes.
you say a lot of times the students will reach out to their counselors before they may reach out to their parents. Now, is there a protocol and what happens then? Are the parents informed when this happens? A lot of times parents, through their insurance, have access to this type of counseling already. How does that work?
Well, if you're speaking specific to if a student discloses that they're having suicidal ideation, we move through something called the Columbia scale to ask directed questions.
Sure.
And probably many of us have experienced this even just going to your physician, right? They ask you kind of the standard questions. And then if a student is identified as having a moderate or severe risk, then we want to make sure we develop the next safety plan in partnership with the family, knowing that, we can put in a lot of protections here at school, but wanting to make sure that we have that safe handoff. So we need families to have that partnership. Certainly if a student expresses fear of being harmed in the process. That's another, obviously a child protective
Sure.
conversation about just making sure that the student is safe, not only from their own thoughts and feelings, but also whatever the circumstance may be.
Do you know how Arbor Circle chose us with one of their 6? The reasons why,
Yeah.
data?
I think because we have had a partnership with them previously, and they've enjoyed working with us, and we've enjoyed working with them,
Okay.
so I think that lent itself to,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
I will say, just to piggyback on that, Greg, it is very hard for many people to get mental health services for children. It can
Mhm.
take months, like 6, 7 months to get in to see someone. It is really hard. From my perspective, I think this is an awesome opportunity for us, just because it can take months to get help for kids.
Great, yep. Thank you.
How many students could be a part of this? You know, like, is there a range or
Yeah.
based on?
Well, with this specific E3 opportunity, the minimum requirement is that the clinician sees a minimum of 50 students in a 12-month period. And we feel very confident that that would be met. Just in prior years, even in a semester, a clinician can fit in up to 140 sessions. So depending on the longevity of working with a student, makes a difference in how many students they can see at a time. But we would be looking at a minimum of 50 students at the high school level.
In middle school as well? Would this be a
So what we would do then is we would move our first position to expand to the middle schools, while this position would be very specific to the high school.
And they have partnerships with other nearby schools as well? to the same
Yeah,
thing?
I don't know which ones, but
Okay.
they were approved for 6 sites, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense, that the current person we have that would support middle school also? And also, in the summer, it looks a little bit different, because it's a 12-month position. So in the summer, you could very well have students that come to school to continue that support that might be needed over the summer, when quite frankly, some kids have a really hard time in the summer.
So what is Arbor Circle's takeaway here? Is it because they're getting the grant that is the funding that they need to have these clinicians, and they hope that they can continue to be engaged with the family? Is that sort of their takeaway?
I think that they're an entity that has always had a specific interest in supporting youth, and so I think that has been their heart in terms of like yes, it does support an additional clinician. They still, if the family does have an insurance that is able to bill, they would still bill that, but then to cover the costs of that person's position, they then have the funding to do that outside of their normal operations.
I think there's also a need where not all students have the opportunity to leave school and get transportation to get support, and there's only so many sessions that take place after school and in the evenings or even on weekends, where now, it's almost like when we have trainers at our high school, so kids can go get their ankles looked at during lunch versus having to leave, go someplace, know that, and come back. Now they're right at school, and instead of missing half hour to get there, hour session, half hour to get back, they might be missing an hour of school.
Other questions for me?
How quickly can this be put together and brought to the board?
Yeah, we are hoping to hear within the next week, so that we can prepare that for the next regular agenda. Mhm.
So it sounds like you're hearing support for
If
this.
there are additional questions after tonight, please let me know, and then we'll try to address them. We'd like to bring it to the board as an action item then at our September 14th board meeting. And hopefully we'll have things in order. And hopefully they work out. I mean, we're still hoping that they still want to partner with us based on where they are, but we need board approval and an understanding too.
Ask one question. So after if we decide to approve it, how soon would the wheels start turning to get it in motion?
Couple days. Might be a week or so, but the idea is to do it soon. As soon as they get a person, they want to go through.
Right, yes, they don't have someone, they would need to hire someone.
Okay.
My guess is if we don't partner with them, they've got grant approval, they're high in the hiring process, they're gonna find another school that's gonna take them up.
Sure.
Other questions?
The approval, so the board approval would be on the memorandum of understanding or whatever you call the contractual relationship. Got it.
And that's pretty straightforward. I'm just trying to think of ways,
So we
creative
don't-
ways to do this as quickly as we can.
Yeah, we don't always have board approval for, when we have relationships with third parties. But there's, based on the grant, it's a requirement that superintendent sign off, high school principal sign off, which we already have because we want to get the ball rolling before it went to the board. Otherwise, it just slows the process down. If the board says no, it's easy to back out. If the board says yes, we don't want to delay it any, so we want to get going. So no, we have others, understandings that we don't ask for board approval, but because it's a grant, the request is that the board also approve it. So that's why we're here.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. We'll circle back now to.
I'm ready. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to your meeting so I can talk a little bit about community education. We've had an incredibly busy summer this year. So I'd like to share with you some of those highlights. So, community education, in a nutshell, is that we just want to share and have some opportunities for kids to learn about sports and give them some social activities. And not only do we include kids from the Hudsonville area, but we also welcome those from Jenison, Granville. We each have some programs that those communities don't offer, so we welcome them to come in. This is going to be my 26th year working for Hudsonville Community Education, and I'm really very blessed to be able to say I'm someone that absolutely loves my job. Some of my coworkers think I'm crazy that after vacation, I'm so glad to be back, and jump back in. But keeping kids mentally and physically active is very essential to development. And, not to mention those kids get to have a lot of fun as well. So our community education camps are a win-win for both of our young athletes as well as our high school sports teams. Not only do the kids get to have fun and improve their skills, but our high school teams also benefit as they receive a portion of the proceeds that help go towards their programs and purchasing some of the needs that they may have, whether it's equipment, uniforms. So by having these camps, the kids get to enjoy playing with some of the varsity players, which those kids just absolutely look up to and love every minute of it. And it's a great way to support our sports teams and keep our kids active and engaged. So we've had some new programs this year, and many of them have just really done well. We try to have a variety of different classes and camps so that we can cast a net to bring in some of those new students. This past year, over the summer, we offered adult pickleball lessons, and they were a huge hit. All of the sessions that we offered were full, and we had a wait list. Another one of our highly successful programs is our Broadway boot camps. And we're able to offer programming with these Broadway boot camps from kindergarten all the way to the senior year. And we break those programming up by age group. And all of those programs were also filled with wait lists. So that kind of led me to thinking, how can we continue to expand upon these programs so that we don't miss any kids that were on these wait lists that want to continue to move forward? So the solution that we came up with was to offer a couple of 6-week programs for the kids during the school year where they come together on Saturdays and they work on learning their lines, and many of them are musicals, so they get to sing their songs and do little choreographed dances. And then we also are going to start utilizing those half days that we have. I think we have 5 or 6 half days throughout the school year. So we're going to bring some of those kids in on the half days, do little mini camps, and then they'll put on performances for their parents and family at the end of that day. So we're really looking forward to some of those opportunities. We've also brought in some Challenge Island STEAM education courses where kids get to do some fun projects and learn about STEAM. We had adult and youth tennis lessons throughout the summer, and those really went well, and we're going to continue to offer those this fall while the weather is still good. We introduced a 5th and 6th grade volleyball league, and that also went very well. We were full with that program. And then our aquatics director, for the first time this year, introduced splash ball, which is an introduction to water polo. So, and that went over very well. So we're going to continue to try and offer some of these programs. And I just wanted to show you kind of a graph of the participation that we've had over the past 10 years. So we started back in 2013, and we were able to offer programming to 2,752 kids. And then that number basically stayed the same up until 2020, when we had our COVID break. And then it gave me time to just kind of reflect and evaluate to see where we had some more room for growth. I was able to reach out to some other organizations in the area and partner with them, so we were able to really get more robust programming for our 2021 and 2022 school years. And as you can see, we had a 58% increase from where we were in 2013. So I really think that we're continuing to grow. The trajectory is phenomenal, and I'm really proud that we've hit the numbers that we have. So I'm hoping to continue this growth for many years to come. Here are just some pictures of some kids that participated in our volleyball camp. This is our girls, and we had 146 young ladies participate in grades kindergarten through 8th grade. They are led by our varsity volleyball coach, Stephanie Chenlow, and she does a fantastic job. She brings in her varsity players, and they always have fun skill drills, and they do some mini games for the kids. And we're looking at offering now a boys youth volleyball camp, now that we have high school boys volleyball teams that are just doing phenomenally. So we really want to try and offer that for our young boys as well. And this was our production of 101 Dalmatians kids. And let me tell you, this was adorable. These kids worked hard, and in just 1 week, they were able to pull together a production where they were delivering lines, singing songs, doing dances. It really was a lot of fun. The kids bring their moms, their dads, their grandparents. The auditorium, I would say, was half full for this production. Up in the right-hand corner, we see Cruella DeVille. She was fantastic. She was, I believe she was in 8th grade, and I think she's going to follow her dreams and continue all the way through all of our productions through the high school. So I'm looking forward to that. These kids, the amount of confidence that they show when they are up on stage is really fun to watch, and it really amazes me. These kids have no fear, and they just get up and they do their thing. And then there we go. Gotta make the noise. And here's just some pictures of our boys basketball camp. We had 138 participants this year, and this is also led by our varsity boys basketball team and coaches. They do a great job. These kids have a great time. And it's always very well attended. And on top of the summer programming, I had a large project that needed to be tackled. I found out earlier in the spring that the software that I had been using for quite a few years had been purchased by a new software company. And the replacement software was not nearly as robust as what I needed it to be. So I went and I watched many demos of some similar programs. And I finally made a decision to switch over to a company called RecDesk. So far, the transition has been very seamless. There has been a lot of work, putting in a lot of data entry, getting in all of the programming, in all of our buildings and everything in there. But I think our parents will really like it. It's very easy to use, easy to understand, and it will give us the ability to contact our parents with text messaging where I did not have that capability before. I think that's really going to be a game changer for me. This program is also cloud-based, and I have introduced it to the high school administrative assistants, and they are also been taking payments for parking permits, yearbooks, and things like that, where previously they would have to collect cash and checks. And so they've been using the credit card and debit card processing, and they've absolutely loved it. It's been a game changer for them. So that's really nice. And then I have a vision to let our PTCs in schools accept credit cards for field trips or any activities that they may have up and coming, t-shirts. The platforms that are available to these PTCs typically charge around 5 to 6% for credit card processing. And with my platform, we can bring that down to 3% for them, thus giving them more money back to their program, which I think they will be very happy with. And one more bit of exciting news, Hudsonville Community Education was recently awarded a grant so that we are able to start a scholarship program for Hudsonville families that are struggling financially. This is something that I've wanted to do for many years, but just never really thought of a good way to get the ball rolling. But I wrote a grant to the Hudsonville Education Foundation, and they approved it, and I was awarded this grant to be able to get some seed money to start this scholarship. And so to continue the growth and make sure that we don't run out of funds with this new platform that I have, we'll probably have a link where parents, if they would like to be able to go and make donations, maybe reach out to some businesses if they'd also like to make some end of the year donations for tax purposes. So I'm really hoping that this will just be something that will go on in perpetuity. We don't have all the fine details quite worked out yet. I want to make sure that I'm able to make the money go as far as it can for as long as it can. I'm hoping it can just keep going on in perpetuity. And in conclusion, thank you for inviting me to just give you a little snippet of what we like to do in Hudsonville Community Ed. And I'm hoping to keep the momentum going for many years to come. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I appreciate your passion for this project and these kids. What are the revenue streams for this? Is it all just funded by those who participate?
It is. So the revenue comes in straight from parents that sign their children up for all of these programs. And I also do all of the facility reservations for the district as well as rentals for the district. So there's also those revenue streams. If someone wants to rent a gymnasium, they do that through me as well. So, but the revenue just comes in just from parents signing their kids up.
So as we have increased the amount of people taking advantage of this program, 58%, what is how have you handled something like that?
You know, it's been some days trickier than others, but because I've done this so long, I've got a really good system down. I consider myself to be fairly highly organized. And so, you know, it's a little extra work, but it's been manageable.
Good. Well, thank you very much for all of your work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Anyone else have any questions?
Rebecca, are you able to add sessions like adult pickleball? You said there was a waiting list. Are you able in the future to add more sessions of that?
I would love to be able to do that. Some of our buildings will be having adult, or just pickleball lines drawn on their gymnasium floor. So we're hoping to possibly expand upon that a little bit, even in the wintertime, because you know they want to play year round. So if we can tap into some of that for them, we would really like to do that.
from what I've been reading about pickleball, we probably want to put in a med center.
Oh, yeah.
Very close to where the courts are.
That is a good idea, sure.
Rebecca, it's just amazing. And even though I knew what you did, having you present that to us just reminded me again of all the different things that you're doing to build these programs. And when I looked through the booklet that was sent out initially and saw all the things, I was like, I wish I had my grandkids a couple other days because they would love to do that. And the fact that we now have the 5-6 building facilities is another additional place for people to use.
Yes.
Again, a reminder of how much Hudsonville Public Schools is about the community, especially during the summertime when the students aren't necessarily there, but all these opportunities that we're providing. So thank you for presenting that to us as a reminder.
Thank you.
But thinking about, and I would agree with everything Dawn said, thinking about the success of Eagle Claw last year with the band program, any thoughts on special needs students and how we expand opportunities for them, or
You know,
what are your thoughts there?
I have looked at that a couple of times, met with the folks from Special Olympics, and we just really weren't able to get anything off the ground because when I met with them, it was about the start of COVID, and I have not had a chance to circle back to them, but I really would like to offer some opportunities for some students that could use it, definitely.
Do you have any thoughts about the scholarship? What some criteria might be for?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So we will rely on our free and reduced lunch list. So when parents apply for that scholarship, we'll refer to the list. I haven't decided yet what the sort of threshold will be. I was going to meet with Janessa and see how much money is there for us to begin with. And then there's another grant out there that I would like to try and apply for to see if we can't make that pot a little bit bigger. But I'm hoping to launch that very soon.
That's great. My 9-year-old was in the boys football for the football camp this year.
Oh, wasn't that
It was-
phenomenal?
It was unbelievable. There were so many people involved, and all the varsity players and the coaches, and they brought in some college players, some former Hudsonville,
Yes.
students that are not playing in college. It was just it was the whole stadium was just buzzing with
Yeah.
excitement.
We had
It was
almost
special.
400 kids
Yeah.
there.
It was really
A
cool.
lot of kiddos.
Yeah, very well done. Thank you so much for everything you did.
Thank you.
Other questions for Rebecca? Great, thank you.
Thanks,
Excellent
Rebecca.
presentation.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have our Park Elementary Playground.
We're just about done with the construction at Park Elementary, so, well, maybe 2 years from now. I talked about the playground equipment and turn over to Pat to go through that. I'll wait up for the other playground.
Thanks, Doug. So in May, we brought to you the complete set of all the bid packages 1 through 29. And we just didn't, for the playground equipment category, we didn't get bids that were just compliant with our specification. Our specification is written to the type of equipment and the quality level of equipment that we want. That we just have learned works best for us, lasts the longest, and kids get the most use out of it. So with that, at that time, we asked you to give us the authority to reject those bids, and actually, we thought we were gonna have to go back out to bid. But with Dan, who's sitting behind you, Dan from OAK, Dan was able to negotiate with the low bidder to get equipment that was compliant with their specification. So I guess without getting too much into the weeds, just give you the financial highlights. Both the original bidders submitted bids for, the high bidder was $280,600, low bidder was $230,960.59. The higher bidder omitted one category, and their equipment still did not, it wasn't what we wanted. It wasn't what our bid spec required. So through Dan's work, he worked with a low bidder, negotiated, got the equipment we wanted, and So the total now that we're asking you to consider for next meeting is $284,104. So we got another category of equipment, and we are essentially $4,000 over what the other bidders submitted, and it's in compliance with our spec. So we've got that $365,000 allowance for holding. We're either going to transfer that to the general contingency for the project or just hold it for the playground and use it for, there'll be something come up with soils or something we'll use it for on the project. So, and everybody's smiling at me, Hudsonville soil, it'll happen. So that's our recommendation, that this is all the other bids are done, where OHA has worked with contracts. We've got a lot of contracts signed with the contractors, but this would be for Play Environments Design, LLC of Holland, for $284,104.
And we'll see this in September, Pat.
Yes.
So they didn't understand?
Yeah, they
So-
understood. They understood.
But they came in really high?
They have their own products.
They want to use their,
Oh,
they want to use their particular brand.
I see, okay. And we wanted what we wanted, and so you're able to negotiate that. Got it, okay. Thank you.
And will this be in addition to what we have, or basically a replacement?
There's probably 6 or 7 pieces we're demoing and removing, and then we're adding a couple more adaptive pieces over there that special needs students can play on right with their general ed peers. And then one of the areas has it's an improved fall zone. So, yeah, it's going to be nice, real nice.
Any other questions for Pat?
There was another.
As a veteran of the park facility over there, when kids aren't in session, there's some unique stuff over there that I don't see at any other park that I go to. Is that going to be removed, or is it going to be preserved?
I'm not sure which pieces exactly you're talking about, but some of the pieces that we're adding, the adaptive pieces, there's a net structure that the staff is very excited about. But overall, I would say improvement on the stuff on this side of the building.
Okay.
There's a lot of things on Hughes Park, it's adaptive, there are adaptive pieces also. But it should be most of this work is happening on the north side of the park building. Should be good.
I look forward to it.
Or Doug, do we need to specify in this motion what we're gonna do with the remainder?
We don't.
Okay.
We don't, we just, because it's an allowance.
Okay.
We're just gonna carry an allowance.
Got it. Okay.
This was part of the bid that was just left out because we weren't happy with it, so we pulled it out and did it separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, thanks. Good question.
Any other questions? Right, hearing none, that was our last agenda item, so we will do a roundtable, and I will start with Mr. Davis.
My kids started this last week at Bauer, and there were some butterflies and everything leading up to that moment, but last week was really, really great, and today was the first full day there. They were just felt so welcomed by all the teachers and principals, and just always very impressed with the level of professionalism and what teachers do in their abilities to go above and beyond and to make kids feel comfortable. It wasn't easy for them, but it was as good as it could. So just wanted to share with everybody we've got some awesome teachers.
Thanks to the team, Doug, and your leadership, and the rest of the administrative team, and the whole team for the really nice kickoff, really good, effective kickoff meeting that we had, whatever that was, a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So just a nice job, well done. And Rebecca, and I mean, just can't say enough about the programs that we talked about, Arbor Circle, the community aid programs. Somebody said, well, this is community involvement. This is what it's so nice work.
I was happy to see that the temperatures were cooler this week. Worried about the kiddos, even though it was half days last week, it was pretty warm on some of those days.
And FAIR certainly did not miss students, because the 2 times I were there, I could not believe the number of people there. But it was very fun to see families And I don't know if that was because kids were in school or exactly what, but it was amazing. So I think we're okay.
As I take my morning walks, I sometimes see parents at bus stops. So I was asking them questions last week, and last Thursday I was over in Kentucky and 40th, and I said to the parents there, how's the buses going after a couple of days? And they said, everything's going fine. I said, do you have any questions? And they said, no. And a third grader from Park, his name was Gavin, said, Mr. Chansky, he said, tell me this, how come the bus goes right past our school and keeps on going to pick up a couple more kids? Why don't they just drop us off? And so a very, very good question. I was able to answer that for him. And, anyway, the parents so far seem to be delighted with what's going on, and thank you very much for all the work you guys have put in.
Can I have a couple comments? I do want to thank our administrative team, central office team for a great job last week. As nice as transportation has been going in some areas, it's still not easy. We're down about 10 bus drivers that make it challenging. I want to thank Rob Matthews and his staff. They have gone through the ringer to start school year. Pat's done a great job. Pat's been over there answering phones, going to bus stops, been all over. It's a lot. So if you know of any bus drivers, or anybody that wants to be a bus driver, you know, wants to hang out with kids, the buses drive themselves. They're not that hard to drive. It is true. You've done it out west, right? Always looking for bus drivers. But just the kickoff to the 5-6 building, a lot of work went into that. Not only the structure, but the instructional, the staffing, the special ed components, and arguably one of the smoothest starts we've had. It is the first building that I've been around when we opened, but it was a very smooth start to open that building. The weather, we were fortunate enough that we had half days planned, partially because of the fair, partially because of professional development, partially because we don't have air conditioning in a lot of our buildings, and we weathered that storm. As nice as it is this week, I will let you know that next week does not look as nice, and I have had about a half a dozen requests about the weather already, and today's Monday. We don't even have school next Monday, so we'll monitor it as we always do what we think is best for our kids. I have been reminded several times that buildings never had air conditioning back 30 years ago. Kids went to school all the time, and it wasn't even a question of whether it was a half day or not, but we'll keep an eye on the weather. And just one last thing, you have in front of you the June version of our update of some of our numbers. I will tell you that's pretty much the last version you're going to get with last year's information. There's been some updates, but we'll look to update those numbers to start the school year off and get a better idea of not just enrollment, but student teacher counts and what it looks like from some of our McKinney-Vento students and some of our assessment data. Also, that's still embargoed, so we can't share that. But hopefully by the time we get to September, definitely October, you'll have a better idea. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And support from
Smart.
Lisa? Yeah.
Andrew.
Andrew. All right. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. All right, you're adjourned.